Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. How y'all do today? Today I figured I'd do notes from the field, navigating academic library spaces as a black librarian. I had never done really story time, so telling my stories of experiences. Please note, this is not shots fired at anybody or anything like that. It's not even that. I'm just sharing it with some experiences that I've had. Recently, probably for the last couple of years, I've gotten the opportunity to participate in a Zoom space where you introduce yourself, and for like an hour, you talk about, what it's like to work in an academic library, or people can ask you questions. The way that the space is organized is pretty much up to the facilitator, meaning me, or if you look at other speakers who do similar things, it's literally how they would set it up. And when I do that, I generally just start with, hey, hi, good afternoon, my name is, and my title, and I'm here today to talk about or to share experiences about working in academic library. Feel free to ask me anything you want, and I leave it very open-ended. I don't necessarily do a presentation because you don't necessarily know how many people are going to show up to this room. But something that has come up for me in different spaces like that is people ask a wide array of questions, and that's not the challenge, because people could tell you and share about their grad school courses. They could ask about what's it like. They could ask you to tell you about your work day, a typical work day or just a work day. They can ask you, did you have previous academic librarian experience before you got in this field? So it's a wide array of questions, and it's a wide array of students that can, or individuals. Some of them identify themselves as students and others don't say. Yet another question that comes up is, what are your qualifications? And for me, I don't know necessarily if when people ask that question, if they think about context, if they think about how it comes across, or they think about the fact that, it could be an innocent question. You really are just asking. Yet I think what's often unspoken and not said is when that question comes up and the person looks like me, melanin, the thing that is often underlined in that question or associated, for lack of a better term, is legitimacy, is who's qualified to speak. That's in the room, whether people know that or not. And I'm gonna just go with the fact that maybe they don't know, maybe they're unaware, and I'm not saying that they intentionally cause harm or trying to create harm. I'm just thinking about, when you read literature in, information science, library science, pick a field, you often find that people who look like me, often I've read literature that talks about actual professors or faculty or individuals' experiences where, they were questioned, how are you qualified? What are your qualifications? And they're just there to teach a class. They're there to present a program. They're there in the space. And that happens more often. And I guess I think about it too in terms of thinking about information patterns. It's like, where have we seen things before? And I think about the fact that I'm a person that loves a good research talk and loves a presentation. Like how people are excited about their hobbies, that's the way I feel about research and listening to presentations. Because like on my vision board are sheroes and heroes where I am super excited to hear them give a talk on something that I have read. And it can be, something that is connected to, academia or not. I am super excited about that. And I go to different talks and I, go to learn information. I go because I'm often curious about how people present their work, whether it's research, whether it's an idea, whether it's connected to a formal paper or not. I'm completely fascinated with how people disseminate information, how you do it, how you move the room. How do you share? And I've seen a wide array of people do it in different ways. And yet, while it's true that I've seen a wide array of people do it in different ways, in many of those spaces, I can also share in my experiences, I've never seen the question come up, tell me about your qualifications. So maybe it's an innocent question, but when you look like me, it doesn't come across as innocent. It really, the issue of, and the concern of legitimacy and who's qualified comes up a lot. And that's a problem. And I don't know if people are aware. I don't know. And it also feels like if you brought that up during the question, you're going to make it awkward because you're really there to share information about experiences. And I think about and I think about my own experience of going to lots of talks, and I've never asked that. I've also never seen it asked, but I said that already. So it's really interesting. And to tie this into story time, because I said story time, about 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to go to this conference. So back it up. Before I went to the conference, I submitted an abstract, and in this particular abstract, I had a co-author because it was a co-author collaborative work that we had done. And so when I saw the conference call, I reached out to my collaborator and I said, "Hey, I saw this call. What are your thoughts about submitting our abstract?" They were like, they thought it was great. They were uncertain if they were able to go because something else was going on, another conference at a similar time or shortly after, and they weren't sure if they would be able to go to both. But they were like, either way, submit it, go with my blessing. So I submitted the abstract. Shortly after, I received an email that said, congratulations. And I was super excited because as they did the program, I was also excited because it was my first time presenting published work, because by the time that they sent the acceptance, the paper was out. So it wasn't just a talk of something that you were in the process of writing or it would yet to be. And that's no shade or no disrespect to those talks because those are needed. I was excited because it was an actual published work, and you could say, you can find this paper in and list, the information that pertains to that. And they were giving me 30 minutes. And that was like my first time ever having that experience, because most of my previous experience had been lightning talks or posters or panels, and those are cool. But this time I got to just be in the room with my PowerPoint talking about, collaborative work. So it was exciting. It was exciting. And yes, I do judge conferences on the snacks. Yeah, it's okay. So I was excited to participate in this conference. I remember registering for the conference. I remember they gave me a blue and gold badge that said author, that said speaker, presenter on the badge. And I can't remember at this time, because like I said, this was 7 years ago. I can't remember if this was the first or the second day of the conference, but I know that my time slot was 10 to 11. It was after the keynote. So you got up that morning. I wore power blue. Like I'm wearing blue now. I had on a blue dress shirt, and I had on matching a pair of blue dress pants, and I was super excited. I had already, memorized, my talking points. I even had a copy of my talking points because my, preparation game is always to be well prepared. And in case that I don't say everything on the sheet that I have written down, I at least have a general idea of rehearsed conversation. I was also extremely nervous. I was nervous because I care. If I'm ever laid back for a talk, cut my mic off. Okay. So, it's the day of the conference. I'm excited. Like I told you, I judged the snacks. They were having an omelet station. I was like, cool. I'm excited about getting me an omelet, but I'm not going to go, lose my mind because I got to speak in another hour, got the keynote after this breakfast. So, I got there, I set my bag down. I said good morning to the table. I asked, was it okay to sit there? Because I don't know those people. And, I'm Southern. So I do have manners, etiquette. So they were like, cool, good morning. Sure. So I look, they're serving omelets to the left. I said, before I go, get my omelet or get in line or whatever, I'll go ahead and get my coffee. Anybody that knows me knows I love coffee. There's a plaque on my desk right now that says, life happens, but there's always coffee or something like that. But I love coffee. Go to the stores, I collect coffee. So coffee grounds and try different ones. So, I go to the table shortly behind me. I go and I make my coffee. I'm making my coffee. I'm looking. They have great creamers. They have the, flavor kind, the equal. Just a point to this story. And so, I stir the coffee up. I put the top on. I turn to the right and I hear, "Excuse me." And I was like, there are people in the building. There are people in that room because it's at a hotel. You're in one of the, areas that they've deemed for, breakfast and how conferences, if you've ever been to one, I'm assuming most people have, or any event anywhere, they have an area that's designated for food, and then they have other rooms that are designated for the talk. So you're in the room that's designated for, a large amount of people that are going to get food. And, there are people there, so it's more than just me. But I heard, "Excuse me," once again. And I turned, and the lady says, "We need more oatmeal." It was a white female lady. She didn't have a badge, so I don't know her name or anything like that. And I'm not saying it to be disparaging to white, females. I'm just saying this is my story. This is the experience that I had at the conference. And so... she said, like I said, she said, "We need more oatmeal." And then I was turned away from her, but I had slightly turned back, turned my head back. And, then I turned more to her and, I'm sharing with her, "Ma'am, I don't work here. I'm a conference presenter, participant." And, I'm showing her my badge. I have no idea why, because it's just one of those things that I'm just like, I don't know really what you say. I felt like I was trying to prove, the reason why I was not a server. Not in the sense that there's shade to that, because in my actual experience, before becoming a librarian, I've had all the jobs. So I've been a server, I've been a food service worker before. So I do have that experience, but I just remember we're telling stories as far as like navigating academic library spaces, and we're talking about what qualifications and the things that come up contextually. So, as I said that to her, she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I say, "No worries. It's all good." Because, what am I supposed to say? This is my first time at the conference. I'm trying to really get my head in the game of being, continuing my excitement that I'm getting ready to present. Stuff happens. Am I disappointed? Yeah, because, it happens. It felt like one of those experiences when you're reading on Twitter, or I don't know if it's on X, because that's not what Twitter is, when you're thinking about, Black in the Academy. And I thought about that because instead of just leaving it, even if she had not apologized, it is what it is. But when I said, "No worries, it's all good," she said, "And it really was just your pants." And I didn't really have anything else to say, so I just, turned on toward the table and was going to get my omelet. And I was just thinking about that experience, reflecting, and I was thinking about my pants. And I'm like, well, in the best light, it was true that my pants might look, like black in the light. But when you looked around at the servers were wearing brown and black. They were also our Hispanic brothers and sisters. And I'm caramel, I'm brown. So yeah. And I just wonder, think about so was she associating my presence at the table being that the only reason that I was at the table was because I was the help or a server? I'm just saying that these are just questions that you wonder, that come up for people. Or do they even think about the questions of or do they even think about how their questions can come across to individuals, especially individuals that don't look like you? And are they thinking that, who gets to be in these spaces? Are they thinking amongst themselves, an unspoken informal conversation, that they're only a specific set of people that get to be there? I just think about this, and I guess I think about that not just solely in the context of librarianship. I think about that because I'm also a fourth year information science doctoral student, and I'm deeply interested in how ideas become, values and beliefs. Specifically, because I am interested in exploring how individuals understand race, and how I want to use comments and online spaces and media to explore this and use that as a framework to create a visual map that illustrates everyday commenters' ideology about race. That's where I'm at now as far as my interest in terms of research or interest. But think about that, and I often think about when you ask questions like, what are your qualifications? contextually. How do other people experience that? And then thinking about that in terms of patterns and behaviors, how sometimes it's also true that when I've watched other people give talks in any context, whether they're in an academic, they're an author, they're a speaker, I've not seen that question asked to other people who don't look like me. I don't. The level of authority, the level of care, the level of respect, the level of automatically this person is qualified to give this talk is just something that is a given. No one ever asked it. And I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying when a person is of a different hue, a different identity, legitimacy. Who gets to be? Who gets to say? What qualifies people to do? And how those questions come up, and how we don't often have enough conversations that sometimes that very question, even if you're meaning it in an innocent way and it's just a question that you're asking, it doesn't always come across as useful or effective. Just saying. Just saying. That's all I got. I don't have anything else. I was just thinking about, what are your qualifications and how that question, comes up, and, the experiences that it made me remember. And I have had this experience, not just in the sense of, at a conference. I've had this experience, in many other spaces too. It's like people are shocked that you're in this space too. It's happened. That doesn't mean that I despise or dislike being a librarian. I love it. Librarianship has been and always has been the career for me that I enjoy, that I'm actually good at, that I enjoy helping people find information and resources, that I enjoy presenting on topics, that I enjoy, research. One of the reasons that I wanted to continue my education in the PhD program was to get better at research, to become a better researcher, to learn more methodologies, to get better at talking to different groups and individuals about a wide array of topics. So I realize there are different audiences, there are different backgrounds, there are different people who have different experiences than yours, and I'm totally okay with seeing people who don't look like me in any space, as well as seeing people who do. Yet while all of that's true, I'm also not going to necessarily ask anybody how you qualified or ask you what are your qualifications to give anything. If they put you on the program, Sugarfoot, then that's what you on the program. Mean that from the deepest place of respect. If you're on the program, if your name is the instructor of record, then that's you teaching the class. I'm not asking you how you qualify to teach the class. And this comes up, I think, socially, because I'm in this group of doctoral students. They're psychology students. Many of them are therapists that are continuing their education, and they talk about the experience of being the instructor of record. And people asking about how they're qualified, or expecting somebody else when they're facilitating an event. And, our running joke has become, when you finish the PhD program, just showing up in the space in the regalia. Not that won't change the question, but I mean, it comes up often, and I'm often thinking about it. Y'all thinking, are people who, I won't say y'all, I'll say, are people who are asking this question seriously thinking about how it comes across when the person is not white, not female, not male? Just saying, not heterosexual. Just how just how that comes across, because we're ultimately talking about legitimacy. We're talking, that's the underlying. I won't say the underlying. Maybe that's the unspoken thought that comes across. At least that's what I think. I can't prove it yet, but it happens when you think about why people ask these questions. And while it might feel and be innocent and genuine to you, depending on the person that you're talking about, it may or may not come across that way. And it felt like it for me in that situation, when things like that have happened, it felt like really awkward to make it a teachable moment, especially if it's somebody you don't know and you also don't know power dynamics. Do you do that at the conference? Do you do that in the Zoom room? To not be shady, do you drop your Google Scholar? so they can see that. I mean, just things that happen, and I think there's connections there, and we have to think about, when you ask these questions, you got to think about how it comes across to individuals that don't share your identity or don't share your representation. While you might think it's useful and effective, it might not be. That's all I got. I probably will delete this because I don't really know if I really want to put this out, but I'm starting to get better at just sharing experiences, because I think there are other people who have had similar experiences, and I think we can learn from all of it. And it's not to shame or put anybody down. I still enjoy the conference despite that experience happening to me. I still enjoy participating in the event despite, the times I've gotten those questions in Zoom rooms. I'm still going to keep showing up and keep being me. I refuse to be anything else but me. And I enjoy what I do. I'm just out here thinking about how it comes across and how we often don't have enough conversations to think about the questions that we ask people, specifically when they're Black people, people of color, and indigenous, and they're in a space, in a place, they're in a role, they're in a title, they're in the archive, they're everywhere that we are. We need to think about that question. How sometimes asking people about their qualifications is not a useful or effective question. Think about a different way you could ask that. Or don't ask it. I don't know. That's all I got. Notes from the field. I'm Chris. Thanks for listening. Peace.